Postcard-worthy look on this Monday afternoon. Maybe not quite postcard-worthy feel as temperatures climbing into the 90s here. So get the kids ready for another hot day tomorrow. Have the late summer, early fall essentials, short sleeves and water as we start the morning out pretty comfortable. Upper 60s to low 70s across the viewing area under partly cloudy skies. Partly to mostly cloudy skies by the time we get towards the afternoon, but that's not going to slow the warmth as we see daytime highs once again climb into the low 90s for your Tuesday afternoon. Let's give you an update to the tropics because it has been the big weather story as we've made our way through the last couple of days, thanks in large part to major hurricane Umberto, which continues to remain a major hurricane. You can see that it's moving out just into the western Atlantic right now. Here's Bermuda right here, so expect it to kind of shoot the gap between Bermuda and the east coast of the United States, moving north-northwest at 13 miles per hour, maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. So that makes it a Category 4 hurricane. Notice how Bermuda is under a hurricane watch. It is not necessarily because of Umberto, because Umberto is going to bypass Bermuda to the west. Now they'll be on the bad side, the eastern side, so they'll still have some impacts, but Umberto is expected to bend back out into the open waters of the north central Atlantic. The reason really that Bermuda is under a hurricane watch is actually because of this. Just to the southwest of Umberto is Tropical Storm Imelda. Imelda now exiting the Bahamas, skirting along the east coast here of the United States, including Florida, where we still have a few tropical storm warnings out of the outer waters. 65-mile-per-hour sustained winds with Imelda moving north at 9 miles per hour. Here's the reason why Bermuda is under that hurricane watch. It's because Imelda is expected to take a beeline towards Bermuda and become a hurricane as it makes its way over top of it. So that is really the reason why. So Bermuda is going to get clipped by Umberto and then maybe a direct landfall from tropical storm, at that point Hurricane Imelda. Imelda then expected to bend back out into the open waters. By the points that both of these get up here, they are expected to become post-tropical cyclones. Outside of these two, nothing else that we're monitoring right now in the tropics for any further developments. So may get quiet once again once we get rid of both of those systems. So to our west, we've got a mid-level disturbance. To our east, obviously, we've got Imelda. You can see what's going to happen is Imelda is going to gradually start to move towards the north, but then start to move away from the east coast. This disturbance here, notice how there's not a lot of rain to it, but there's a lot of cloud cover. So for tomorrow, we may see an additional amount of clouds over top of us. That may shave off a degree or two in terms of the heat that we saw for today for tomorrow. Again, Imelda moves out to sea, so it starts to exit. What's going to happen is we're going to get more of a flow here coming from the northeast to the west across the Gulf, and that's going to open the door for what we call open waves or inverted troughs, and so that could provide a few showers to our forecast as they move from the eastern Gulf towards the western Gulf. So you can see kind of an elevated rain chance here as we go towards Thursday, but even then we're talking about a slight chance of rain for inland areas along the coast, maybe a higher chance of rain in the forecast for Thursday. That could linger into Friday and maybe eventually even into the weekend. So you'll notice zeroed out rain chances tomorrow and Wednesday, up to 20% for Thursday, back down to 10% Friday and Saturday, and then a question mark as we go into the beginning of next week. Could we potentially see an area of low pressure develop in the northern Gulf? Well, here's a look at the available moisture. You can see this is all tied to Imelda here working its way off towards the east, but we get this sort of open wave starting to move its way across the eastern Gulf into the western part of the Gulf. And then maybe could it develop an area of low pressure and then bend back up towards the Gulf Coast region as we get into the early part of next week. So again, it's a 20 to 30% chance of rain in the forecast by the time we get towards the beginning of next week. But those rain chances may have to come up depending on how things evolve in the forecast. What will happen though, as we introduce those rain chances, some additional cloud cover, we get to shave off a few degrees in terms of those afternoon highs. So we go from the 90s when we're dry into the upper 80s as we sprinkle in a few minimal rain chances.